Shut up and sit down.
Hello, Phantoms fans. Welcome to the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Sam Olmstead.
And I'm Justin Irwin.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of the Dump and Chase podcast, our first episode for the year 2020. For this show, we look back over the last 3 games, the Phantoms' inability to stay off the naughty list right after Christmas, and what lies ahead in the new year. My name is Sam Olmstead, and with me as always is the guy who spent New Year's Eve exchanging all of his empty bottles of Christmas vodka for full ones, is Mr. Justin Irwin.
Actually, I didn't do all that much drinking, but yeah.
So the holidays are over, we get back into it. Hard to believe it's been 20 years since Y2K. Do you remember all that garbage 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah. Turn your computer off before midnight or the entire world's going to blow up.
But I'll tell a quick story here. December 31st, 1999, I was at my brother's house in Lisbon, and where my brother's house is located, you actually get a very good view of the federal prison in Elkton, the lights and everything like that. And once the ball dropped, it hit midnight, everybody's celebrating and everything else. Somebody standing by the window thought it would be funny to scream, "Oh my God, the prison lights just went out," causing everyone to panic and run to the windows to see that the lights were in fact still on. So that's how I spent my Y2K, but looking back 20 years ago. But anyways, as far as this past weekend goes, it was kind of an interesting one for the Phantoms. Some of them actually got to play all weekend. A handful of them kind of took an early exit from gameplay this weekend. But before we get to all that, we're going to go through some roster news with the team. First and foremost, Arseny Smeknov was traded to Fargo. He was traded to Fargo for a 2020 Phase 2 7th round pick and a conditional 2021 Phase 2 10th round pick. We kind of had our thoughts as far as who might be gone, who might be traded. I don't ever remember once thinking Arseny Smeknov was going to be one of them.
No, I'm sure something with Fargo caught their eye. We needed to make some moves, clear some roster space. Ben Schoen coming off of the injured reserve. But yeah, Smeknov leaving was not on my radar. In my opinion, we could have got more for him, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So
for the 2 games in Chicago, Phantoms affiliate Jack Silich was called up. 2003 birth year. He was a Phase 1 3rd round pick this last year. This season, he's playing for the Boston Junior Bruins. Didn't show up on the score sheet so much, but neither did most of the team. No, looked like his game was pretty strong, coming up making his USHL debut.
Yeah, he was far from the worst player on the ice, I'll say that. He definitely got a lot more gameplay on the second game for very obvious reasons. Yeah, solid player, a lot of energy, definitely somebody I can see being on the roster next year, the year after that.
The game on Tuesday in Muskegon, Phantoms affiliate Josh Adams was called up. We don't know if it's more than one game. So far, it was just the one game in Muskegon. He was, this past draft, a Phase 2 21st round pick, plays for the Oakland Junior Grizzlies U16s. He is a defenseman who, for the purposes of the game in Muskegon, actually played forward, along with Caden Lewandowski, who is also a defenseman, but due to understaffing, as we'll call it right now, was also playing forward. At this point, my Hockey TV 1-month subscription ran out, so I could only listen to the game. So I really didn't hear Josh Adams' name called once that I could remember. So as far as what he looked like in that game, I honestly couldn't tell you.
I saw a good portion of the game. I was pretty distracted through a lot of it. Did not really get a whole lot of play from what I saw. I didn't see him make any mistakes, but the way things were going, I guess, it's not like you can really expect a lot when you're throwing defensemen up at forward, so.
And then we have Yusako Ando. He will not be with the team for the next couple weeks. He will be playing for Team Japan, the U20 junior team on the World Junior Championship, so we will be without him for the next 2 weeks. But we did get Trevor Kuntar back from the World Junior Challenge. One comes back, one goes away, but yeah, we'll be without him for, the next couple weekends?
Yeah, I think it should run about 2 weeks.
And finally, there was one more addition, quite literally last second here. You sent me You sent me the link to this player like right as we were getting ready to record. So
Yeah,
and this last one would be
Jesse Horacek, I think I'm pronouncing that right, just showed up on the USHL roster today. Not really sure. What I know is he is a '03 birth year centerman, plays for Team Maryland. So, there is some ownership association there. Was the 5th overall pick in the Futures draft last year, phase 1.
Alrighty, so now that we got that out of the way, we will get into this last weekend. The games themselves, we're not going to go into a ton of detail about them. The game on Saturday, we are definitely going to have a good bit to say about that one. The game this past Saturday in Chicago, Phantoms lost 9-5. They also lost 5 of their players to suspension. Again, we're going to get into that. The game in Chicago on Sunday, the Phantoms lost 7-1. The team's severely shorthanded. Some positional changes, call-ups, everything, trying to make up for, 5 guys gone missing. The game Tuesday in Muskegon, a little bit closer than it was with Chicago. Phantoms lost 4-2. But yeah, the big story of this past weekend is the team's just severe lack of discipline kind of showing its face again. Kind of thought we were getting past that. Yeah, really came roaring back Saturday in Chicago. Just as far as the kind of like the penalty stat line, for the Phantoms, 15 total infractions in the game, 60 penalty minutes total added all together. 2 major penalties with 2 game misconducts, and then 1 double minor with a 10-minute misconduct. And Chicago was 5 for 11 on the power play. So any grounds that were made, just kind of, 1 step forward, 5 steps back as far as team discipline on Saturday.
Yeah, it was kind of incredible. Just a total meltdown. 2 of those suspensions came with less than 4 minutes to go. Trevor Kuntar and Jake Swade. The game is lost at that point. I don't know if you still had your subscription at that point, but I didn't see any reason to go around taking penalties like that at that point in time. It's not getting you anything. It's just shooting yourself in the foot for, the next game or several.
Well, where I was at a disadvantage there was during that game, I had that game on my tablet sitting next to me. That was playing. And on my television, I was watching Ohio State and Clemson. So I kept trying to go back and forth. And really, the timing did not work out for me. Every time one of these penalties happened, I was not looking at my tablet when it happened. But yeah, it was 2 of those penalties in the like you said, in the last 5 minutes of the game. The penalty that Aiden Gallagher got his suspension was in like the first minute and a half of the game.
Brendan Burson scored on that Gallagher penalty, so it's just let's start off on the absolute wrong foot.
Yeah, so I'll go through here real quick. The 5 players that were suspended. Josh DeLuca had gotten a 5-minute major for head contact with a game misconduct, essentially using somebody's head as a basketball on the ice. He received a 4-game suspension for that. Aiden Gallagher had a 2-minute minor for checking from behind. Once the league reviewed it, that turned into a 3-game suspension. Jake Swade, a 2-minute minor for checking from behind. And later on in the game, a 4-minute double minor for high sticking and a game misconduct. That got him 2 games. Matt Cassidy, a 2-minute minor for head contact. That was a 1-game suspension. And Trevor Kuntar with a 5-minute major and a game misconduct for cross-checking. That was also a 1-game suspension. Now, it should be noted at this point, Cassidy and Kuntar, they are back. They've served their suspensions. Jake Swade has served his. We will not see Aiden Gallagher on Friday. We'll see him on Sunday. And Josh DeLuca, we will not see him until the Phantoms are in Plymouth the next weekend.
That's a lot of games missed there. So yeah, let's see. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so that's 11 total man games.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, I got to wet my whistle there. That was a mouthful. But yeah, it's again, we're just back to that point of just a severe lack of discipline. Quite honestly, I mean, it's flat out selfish play by, some of these players that they just, can't keep their wits about them when they're on the ice. I mean, they really put their team in a spot. I mean, the Phantoms played the game in Chicago on Sunday. Those 5 players were gone. You had players out there maybe getting more ice time than they're used to. And I mean, you kind of really saw that towards the end of the game. You saw a lot of kids gassed towards the end of that game on Sunday. But at the same time, kind of like what we've talked about before, some of these role players on the team kind of having that chance to step up with all these players gone, and nobody did.
No, I mean, to a little bit, you saw some guys step up a little bit, like Jacob Felker had a couple of goals. I thought Merkelov played some strong hockey out there. But yeah, just no real leadership out there and no drive. Everything fell apart, and now we are a couple of games below 500 going into the new year.
It's kind of hard to have leadership when there's no team captain right now, kind of following the pattern of seasons past. I don't know if I want to call them assistant captains. Maybe I guess associate captains would make more sense. But yeah, when you have both of them, who are Aiden Gallagher and Trevor Kuntar, both getting suspended in the same game. Yeah, that kind of hurts in the leadership department, but I don't know.
This would be a good point for somebody, like Merrick to step up. He's a USHL veteran. He's been there before. Obviously, he's played for teams that have been on some pretty bad losing streaks. Somebody like that, I'd like to see, step up, score a goal, or at least, assert yourself in a way that, isn't destructive to the team.
And since we're talking about leadership, and I've kind of dreaded that it's kind of got to this point that it needs to be brought up as far as the coaching influence and all of this. I mean, I like Brad Patterson. The couple times I've gotten to speak to him, he's a great guy. Obviously, he's a good coach. He's taken the Phantoms playoffs 3 years in a row, including a trip to the Clark Cup finals. But when he's doing these post-game interviews and, being asked about as far as, this ridiculously high number of penalties and kind of this breakdown in discipline, and making comments about how it's, going to be addressed as far as like the beginning of, the next practice or whatever, and I even tweeted this out, whatever is going on at the beginning of these practices, as far as dealing with these kind of mental breakdowns during a game, it doesn't seem like it's working.
No, and, we've seen this before. Last year, we had the meltdown in Plymouth, maybe a little bit different situation, but another case of where just discipline falls apart and ends up affecting the rest of the team going into future games. You can't do that, in the last couple of minutes, especially. That's, when a coach really has to kind of rein in his guys and rein in the emotion and say, hey, listen, just blow it off and play them again tomorrow.
And that was even the game in Muskegon. There was only a few minutes left in the game, and you had, if I remember, it was Jason Dobey was trying to fight somebody.
Yeah. Like
right there at the end of the game. And, and even Muskegon's announcer said, you do that in the last 5 minutes of a game, that's an automatic game suspension. We're already shorthanded as it is, and you've got Dobey chasing someone around the ice trying to fight him who wants nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, why would you? At that point, You've got nothing to gain.
You know what? I had this later on, something to talk about later on. I think I'm just going to go in and throw it in right here. And it's basically the question I'll pose to you that, our team's game planning to get under the Phantom's skin, to kind of, get them riled up. Basically the USA hockey model, pretty much, that, one of the reasons Team USA has been so successful against us in the past.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think they've got a couple of guys at least pegged. We can get this guy to take a dumb penalty here or there. If we just keep yapping, somebody will do something stupid. If I hit this guy, behind the play, he's going to leave position and come back at me. And even at this level, that's something that teams put into the game plan.
With the loss to Muskegon on Tuesday, the Phantoms finished 2019 on a 7-game losing streak, 0-6-1 in their last 7 games. Essentially the entire month of December is what that boils down to. I mean, offensively, and then branching out as far as the power play, the penalty kill, not good all around. The last 7 games, the Phantoms were outscored 35-15. Works out to like a 5-2 score on average for each game. The Phantoms power play over the last 7 games, 5 of 33. That's 15.2%. Right on par with their average for the season, which is 15.4, which works out to the 4th worst in the USHL. Penalty kill over the last 7, 24 of 35. That's 68.8%. The Phantoms on average for the season is at 78%. So, pretty much almost a full 10 percentage points below what their season average is. Overall, Phantoms third worst in the league on the penalty kill. It just seems like, and you hate to say it, but it just seems to be lining up that if Trevor Kuntar is not in the lineup, this team does not score.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the excuse that guys are out of the lineup, but you look at Chicago, the same time Kuntar was out, they had, 4 or 5 guys out at the same tournament. So, yeah, you got to find ways to score without your top guys. There's guys on this team that can score. It's just kind of, at this point, a little bit mind-blowing that it's come to this. It's a rough road trip. Guys are tired.
It's especially the last 7 games, and it's just been every aspect of the team that has just performed way below, what we've seen these guys are capable of. For example, the goaltending the last 7 games, Dominic Bassey, over the past 7 games has had a 4.75 goals against average and 859 save percentage. Colin Purcell, the games he has played, a 5.65 goals against average and an 880 save percentage. It almost begs the question, is it kind of the case like we had last year where you had 2 goaltenders that just really were not challenging each other and were not pushing each other. And then you started seeing guys, being shown the door. A lot of what we're seeing right now, especially with the goaltending, looks a lot like what we saw last year.
Yeah, and it should and has to be better at this point. I've seen these guys play. I know the skill level of these 2 goalies is a lot better than what we've seen. Again, does this go back to coaching? I know goaltending coaching in this league is a little bit on the thin side. That's something I think USA Hockey needs to address all around. Yeah, we've got to get solid goaltending, especially if we can't get offense. We kind of need the defense to help out, and that's kind of hard to do when guys are sitting in the penalty box. But
but at the same time, it's not like a lot of these goals that are being scored, it's not like they're getting deked out of their shorts. A lot of it is just, you just see like just a lot of these just wrist shots from the top of the circle that are going in. Clear looks, not a lot of traffic in front, and it's just everything that's getting, shot at them is getting behind them.
Yeah. We got one goaltender that seems to be kind of slow, I think, side to side. Gives up a lot of rebounds. The other guy, I don't know if he's positionally out or just does not react sometimes. But it's a lot of aspects, vision. I'm, wondering if either of these guys are seeing the puck.
It's just way more questions than answers right now, and it's a 62 game season. There's gonna you're gonna have these stretches. We've seen losing streaks in the past. I just don't know if we've seen one where it's just every aspect of the team's game is just so far below par that you're just kind of scratching your head going, where did it go wrong?
Yeah, not with this talent level, not with, the players that we have. I've seen it before, but I can look and go, well, we're not that good. That's not the case, I don't think, with this team.
No, not at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination do I think this is a bad team. Okay, so January is we will call it the month of Cavelli. All of these away games, all these month-long road trips and everything else. January is where we make up for severe lack of home games this season. Just kind of going through the month real quick. Of course, this weekend, Friday and Sunday, we have Madison coming back. I'm so looking forward to that because we've played so well against Madison this year, who, even with their recent success, is still pretty far behind as one of the worst teams in the league, points-wise. Weekend after that is a home-and-home with Team USA, the under-17s. Yeah, the game on the 10th will be up in Plymouth, and the game on the 11th will be back down here at the Cavelli Center. The 17th and 18th, we have Tri-City coming to town. The 24th, 25th, and 26th, we have the Green Bay Gamblers coming into town. Kind of one of those rare, 3-game road trips be played all against the same team for Green, as far as what Green Bay is going to be doing. But yeah, they'll be at the Cavelli Center for 3 games that weekend. And then the Phantoms will finish out the end of the month back on the road again, I believe, for a couple weeks. the January 31st, and then bleeding into February 1st, they'll be at Cedar Rapids. So 10 games for the Phantoms this month. 8 of them will be at home. 8 of the next 9 will be at home.
Yeah, well, this is obviously a really big, important month for the Phantoms where we can make up some of what we lost here last month. One thing to point out in this stand, all but one game is against Eastern Conference teams. So, we really have to try to play to win on these games. Madison, obviously we should be better than them. The under-17s, you kind of got to step up and beat the kids. Tri-City, the one Western Conference opponents that's coming to town, they're tough. That'll be a good game. We beat them in the Fall Classic. Green Bay, obviously, we should probably beat them, but, the way things are going, that'll probably be a pretty tough game. Cedar Rapids is another tough opponent, so, we really got to suck it up this month and get the points while we are at home and have the chance.
10 games this month, 20 potential points, and like you said, with everything except for Tri-City, everything being against Eastern Conference teams, this would be a real good time to get off the snide because, it's these are the points you want to pick up. You have the advantage of being at home. I think we've reached the point team really needs to snap out of it because this is actually going to be a very important month. Especially, those 3 games with Green Bay, you want to circle your calendar on that one. I have a feeling that series is going to be huge for both teams because, you have Youngstown and Green Bay kind of right there with each other in the standings. So, it's those are points you want to get.
I would like to point out, though, that the Tri-City games, my experience, we tend to those games tend to get a little chippy. I don't know if it's because, it's Patterson playing against Noreen, now Noreen and Jason Kohler. But
boy, we haven't said that name in a while.
Yeah, I figured I'd throw that in, but those get kind of chippy. We'll want to try to dial it down a little bit. But I expect those will be good games. And I think that Green Bay series is going to be good.
Do the GMs ever travel with the teams? I know in our case, our GM's also our head coach, but do GMs ever travel to away games or?
Not usually, but Kohler is also kind of one of the scouts, whether or not he's on the stat sheet as a scout. He's always a guy out trying to watch the opponent or, see what's going on. Trade deadline will be coming up at some point, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's around somewhere.
We might have to keep our eye out that weekend. That might be a fun conversation to have if he does, in fact, come to Youngstown. That could be a fun one for us. Oh, Lord. But this upcoming weekend, the Madison Capitals are coming back just for whatever reason this year. As bad as this team is, they just seem to have our number. I imagine their confidence against us will be at an all-time high after a few weeks ago, the games in Madison. I don't want to say I think the Phantoms need to get their pound of flesh back, but this weekend, this is 4 points they need to get. You just can't screw around with this anymore. This is 4 points they absolutely have to get this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of getting to be do or die time. If you slack off this month, you're going to be in a pretty deep hole going down the home stretch. So, and to your point about teams, trying to get under our skin, I think Madison is the one that kind of set the precedent on that this season. So, that's one that kind of scares me, seeing that one on the schedule right now. Kind of a big test for the guys.
But the nice thing is, after this weekend, we are done with Madison for the rest of the season.
I am so glad.
They're not coming back. We're not going there. No more listening to the holier-than-now announcer in Madison. It's all done. After this, we're all done. And then it's just the 17 or 18 games left this season we have against Team USA that we got to worry about. But thank you, Madison, for taking our mind off of Team USA for a little bit. I guess that's the one silver lining for us. One final thing I actually wanted to point it out earlier, and I completely skipped over it. The game against Muskegon, I decided to tweet out a bunch of stuff. just kind of like season stats up to that point. We're not officially to the halfway point of the season, but the holiday break does tend to be considered the halfway point of the season, kind of unofficially. Threw some stats out there, threw a few polls out there, some serious, some not so much. The one I definitely wanted to point out, I put a poll out for as far as the best Phantoms performance so far this season. The three options were Colin Purcell, 52 saves against the under 18s, the Trevor Kuntar hat trick against the Lincoln Stars on October 18th, and the Arseny Smeknov shootout goal. And once the votes were tallied, Colin Purcell, 52 saves against U18s, got 64% of the vote. So, I guess one high point from the month of December.
Our 1 point. Our 1 point.
Yeah, one high point and 1 point of the month of December. So congratulations to Colin Purcell. Another poll I threw out there was the best hair poll. That was between team president Andrew Goldman, head coach Brad Patterson, and our own Justin Irwin. And once the votes were tallied, you and Andrew tied. So,
yeah, hopefully. It's beginning to look like I'm not going to be able to get a chance to shave before tomorrow's game. So I'll try to get a good shine on for Sunday.
At least you can say one time in your life you won a best hair competition. At least, tied for winning a best hair competition. So, but yeah, on that note, we are going to go ahead. That is going to bring us to the end of this episode. Thank you everyone for listening in, and stay tuned for some exciting things that we may have coming down the pipeline. I can't say exactly what they are yet. Possibly some new interviews, possibly some style changes, some stuff we're working on right now. Hopefully we can get that out sooner than later. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment as well. Our social media links are in the description below, and as always, you can find all of our content on hockeyfan.com, that's PHAN, and our syndication partners at Ohio Hockey Digest. Thanks again for listening, Happy New Year's, and we will talk with you again soon.
Happy 2020, guys.